Alright, I am live. Hello everyone, I'm the Breakfast Bandit, and today I'm going to be playing some more Devoid. And yeah, today was generally quite a, reasonably interesting day. Because I think a lot of it was just me in Terraria just mining away, actually not even mining, I think it was just mostly me just going into a cave and trying to get myself a weapon that almost everybody else already had. By dealing 1 damage the majority of the time to wasps, which was pretty nice, and they have about 60 HP. I mean, I did get about 7 stingers from that. Maybe I got 4. I know I do have quite a lot of stingers now. And I just realized that there's a second material that I also need that I don't have any of. So that'll definitely be fun to just start collecting. But yeah, the holidays have appeared, and honestly, I have a feeling that just a lot of my phrases will just be cut short. Just due to the fact of it just being less things to talk about, because the only things that I've really actually done today is just playing Terraria and watching just Breaking Bad, which honestly both were quite fire. I mean, it did get kind of boring at the end, just me dying a whole bunch of times, just me running back to that same old cave. And there were no epic boss fights like last time because it was Eye of Cthulhu, which honestly was quite easy because I think it might be because of the player scaling just not working. So then it was just really simple to defeat. Although from what everyone else was implying, there might be some more powerful bosses eventually, but for now I'm just unsure because Eye of Cthulhu is just the only boss that I've really seen. I think I did see Cthulhu himself, just in a YouTube short one time. He looked pretty epic, but honestly that's about as accurate as my representation of just MLG when that was still on. Just trying to imagine all the characters there, and then it's just trying to imagine what did Cthulhu quite look like again? Because I mean, he did kind of look like he had just a squid head, and it was green. I don't really remember much else about Cthulhu, so it will still be quite a big surprise, hopefully, when I see him again. Unless it truly is the fact that I just can't actually remember him, because to say the least, chat, MLG is something that's really difficult to remember, because it would have been the brain rot of 2014, so it just, yeah, it really isn't that memorable. Well, it really is memorable until it wasn't, but the main reason why I'm just talking about it just like that is just the fact that there's just a whole bunch of gunshots, people just like, and then you got just Sonic, but then he's drawn poorly, with deal with it shades, and a cigarette, as well as just a whole bunch of other things, and then there's YouTube poop as well, like Ouija, you got Yee, and there's a whole bunch of other things as well. Just back when that was becoming new, and then YouTube poop versus MLG was a thing. And there was this guy who just animated cartoon fights, and it was just YouTube poop versus MLG, and honestly that was quite entertaining. Even though it almost felt like they were just flipping a coin each time, or just saying which one was more popular and what to win, because it really was just PNGs dragged to make explosions when they contact each other. There's just no real ground laws or physics. I mean, I suppose they did at least try and keep some of the characters down the ground. I know that Ouija wasn't, and then they just sometimes have these dimensions, which... maybe if I was a kid I might go back there, but for the most part... I'm not really too sure. But yeah. There are also some really funny moments just before stream as well, because yeah, chat, I'm just not going to be scheduling any more Terraria stuff because it is just tricky to schedule with just multiple people involved. And throughout the entirety of the time, what happened was just I joined just 10 minutes before everyone who was in call was just watching Hell for Boss, which was quite funny. Just almost seeing Wee's first impression of that, which was pretty hilarious. Came at the perfect time too, because Stolas and that one imp guy just were duking it out with their lightsabers, so that was pretty funny to watch. Beast is just a little bit traumatized from that. And I was also flirting with this NPC, and it was generally quite hilarious how uncomfortable the NPC just looked. And it was pretty sick. Then we also played Gay Obby too, just a recommendation from Trilad. I don't know quite why he would pick something like that. And I think everyone just wanted us to start stream just in Discord, but then Trilad was kind of distracted, and I think I was contributing to that distraction, even though I honestly did just want to go into Terraria already. Although I also wanted to see what horrific outfits there were just in the Roblox LGBTQ community one. I don't know if it's quite like that. I think I am making it just a little bit too harsh, but I don't know. I'm not really talking about just regular people who are just, well, not straight. It's more or less the people who just feel the need to wear their identity on their clothing, just almost grabbing the flag, just waving it in front of them, and just wherever there's fabric, just the flag gets just pasted on there. Just almost like how you would grab a sheet just on a background, and then you would just paste it on that, and then that image is now the background. That's basically what a lot of the stuff was in that game, which was quite hilarious. And then there was also just a whole bunch of weirdly scaled things, and I mean, I don't even think the dude was just the LGBTQ community. He just knew that people would join it. Just, I think it is just mostly people who are just curious about what it's actually about, but don't actually know what the standing is of it. I mean, I think a lot of the original LGBTQ community just, well, LGBTQ, right, just died. Because I think there was a lot of people protesting, and now it's just the few people who are left that actually feel the need to protest, because yeah, I definitely do agree with just the original protest, just how a lot of people that just weren't straight were just not accepted, and yeah, honestly, I can feel for that. Just the fact that being different just gets you just cast aside way too often, and there are a lot of things that were just horrible back then, so I generally do believe in just having just a day a week just to represent, well, just have them represent themselves, because it's just generally a good thing. It just feels like it's been taken too far, to the point where it's just almost a whole bunch of junkies just going about, and honestly I haven't really looked too much into it, but there was one person who was just saying how I was dead, and honestly I did get bored with the video, so... Well, and I got bored with the video. You need to really use that word list. I mean, the word honestly is quite a nice one, but it's just generally starting to annoy me, so I'm going to start using that word less. The word that must not be spoken. So I just didn't really watch the rest of the video, and a lot of it has just gone out of my head, so I could be very much wrong, chat. Please do not clown on me too much if I am, because I very much could be, but yeah, I think a lot of it is just people who are just partying at that point, and then they're just going too far off the party. And then that's it. So it definitely is quite interesting. Also, something that actually happened today was my parents just didn't get me any breakfast for once. I mean, they have been doing a very good job up until this morning of just keeping just muffin stock just on the side and fruit salads so I can dish myself out those things, but both of those things weren't there, so I just didn't really have anything to eat. I mean, I did have just wheat bix if I really wanted to, or just some other cereals, but instead I decided to just grab this curry and a whole bunch of popcorn, and that was my entire breakfast, which was certainly quite the interesting experience to just make both curry and popcorn. Because of the curry, I put a paper towel on it just so if it exploded, then it just would explode into the paper towel, and then there would just be nothing else that would happen. Instead, what happened is it exploded the paper towel off, and then it just kept exploding anyway, so I just had to clean out my entire microwave. And the worst part is the jelly's just able to go into the microwave anyway, so that was just annoying. I mean, I suppose it did catch part of the chili. There was quite a bit there. But it certainly is just inconvenient when just your food explodes. I mean, I still had a lot left, and they generally did taste nice. Don't get me wrong, chat, but there's a very good reason why I don't usually go into those pouches in the cupboard, because to say the least, they're just really difficult to dish out. Because I also need a microwavable safe bowl, which my house just doesn't have any of. So I'm just forced to just wash one of the only bowls up, because my parents also use it a lot. And when it's not used, they just completely forget it, and it's just not loaded in the dishwasher until there's generally nothing else to load. So it does just become a challenge just right away for me to just heat something up. Just with one of those pouches that my dad just gets randomly because, well, almost in case of times like these, so I suppose you could technically say that he did get me breakfast, but I'll just say that he forgot my usual breakfast, especially how that chili was meant for lunches instead, because my parents just don't really plan anything around that, so they just have that there. Just almost predicting that I would just have a sandwich one day and then just chili another, or just a burrito, because my parents also get me just these microwavable burritos as well, which taste alright. They're not really that good, and they're not really that bad either. I mean, a lot of the time they do explode in the microwave as well, but not really just as violent of an explosion as that chili. It's more of just it explodes, but then it's just the outer shell that explodes a bit, and then there's just chili that just pours out, or just filling. So it really isn't that bad, at least in my opinion. Plus they do taste alright. I mean, they're nothing really significant. It certainly doesn't taste as good as just a big bean pie, which I do miss those. I do still have the apple pies, but yeah, those mince and cheese pies did taste pretty good when I ate meat, so that just might be something that could turn me back, but no, I suppose I'll be staying strong just because I also just like junk food just way more. And when I have a bean burrito, it's just not so bad, especially the Taco Bell ones. Like, anything in Taco Bell can just be replaced with just beans, and they just generally make everything taste good. And a lot of what people say about Taco Bells, they just, well, have bad digestion, and have digestion problems, I should say, and I think a lot of people just don't really go there just because of that. Although, I generally just have not gotten any problems with Taco Bell. If anything, I enjoy it every time. It's just the ultimate junk food night because, well, there are no Taco Bells anywhere near my house, so I'm always begging my parents just for Taco Bell just on every Friday, because that's just the only day when we even have a chance of getting takeaways. Unless you guys just include just Subway or sushi, which I would sometimes get that on Mondays, which now that's just not a reality because I'm not having any math tuition anymore. So I think originally what that was all about is just my dad just not really wanting tuition to be too negative of an experience. So then he just said every time that he picks me up there, I just get sushi, which, well, at this time anyways, he just wouldn't really pick me up, so I wouldn't have gone anymore anyways, so just Subway, because that was on the same day too. Because it was just a sushi place and Subway place like right next to each other. So I just usually got that quite a bit. And then, yeah. Usually when I even got sushi or Subway, it just counted as my just one takeaway night a week, so then I just would not get anything on Friday, so there was just no chance of ever getting Taco Bell to begin with, which usually it's actually La Pacheta, which tastes really good. Contrary to most people's belief. The type of pizza that I just usually enjoy the most is just a plain cheese pizza with mushrooms. Because I don't know what it is, but it's just every other topping just tastes bad to me, or just ruins the flavor of just a regular cheese, either from mushrooms, which just enhances it. I mean, I do still like just other things like pineapple, or I suppose maybe some other type of pizza that my parents get, because a lot of the time it's just a whole bunch of just random vegetarian combos that's just in the back of the menu at any pizza store, because my parents have gone to multiple stores to just get vegetarian pizzas. Although I think it is more of just them just trying new things. Really my dad, because he's usually the one who gets takeaways, and it's just generally interesting just how many just genuinely cursed food objects that can just go on one pizza. Because we got olives, goat's milk cheese. There's goat's milk cheese, but then it's instead replaced with cow's milk, and there's also asparagus and spinach leaves, just tomato as well, which I don't think I would have known anyone who would have even put that on pizza if it was just not given to me. And even one time when my parents just brought me a Mr. Wedge, but then it had just ham on it, so they instead ate it. And there were multiple pizzas at the time because, well, it was a party, so I could just have just another one of the pizza options, but it was just always me just going up to that pizza, looking at it. I remember just taking a slice and looking closely at it, and it's just, you sure that's vegetarian? Which my parents were just confident that it was, not taking any sort of a close look on the pizza, which it is my job, but with how much I've just told them that I just like just regular cheese pizzas, it definitely just isn't the greatest when it's just a pizza that's just random. Which it generally is just useful to always look at just things if you're a vegetarian, because it's just so easy to just have meat laced in something, because honestly, meat tastes quite fine. Used to have it, and I mean, I still technically do have it because my parents still force me to eat it, but every other time, other from dinner time, it's just me observing things, just making sure it doesn't have any on there. And one of the reasons why I've actually been just so suspicious of just meat is because there was this one time just in intermediate where I was just in class, and there was this giant bring your own stuff day, just a shared lunch, where a whole bunch of people just bring just little pieces, just maybe like some guy brings a pack of crackers, some person brings just whatever their mum cooked up and they bring that, and just generally a lot of different things that taste pretty amazing. So then there was this one time that there was one of these shared lunches that were just there. I think I brought a pack of rations there, I really cannot remember, but there was just this tofu that I just kept snacking on, and there was this guy who was just laughing at me because he was like, "Go on, bandit, eat it. Eat the tofu. It's vegetarian," and then the dude just, well, handed me some tofu and I just ate it. I'm like, okay. Because at the time I just thought, oh, tofu. People really just dislike that because, well, a lot of people just don't really like being vegetarian, and that's just something that happens. But then I just find out, just after I just scoffed just almost an entire packet of tofu, that it's just crab, and I was just eating crab the entire time. Which honestly I wasn't really that defeated because, well, my parents still make me eat meat, but it generally has taught me a very valuable lesson to always question things just heavily, or to actually look at the ingredients before eating something. Because I think there would have been a label on that. I'm just generally avoiding just things that just seem suspicious, because as much as I was somewhat suspicious of that. It was still just a more probable option that I thought would happen, which just didn't. Which... I don't even know what to say about that moment at this point, because it really was just some guy who thought it would be funny to just trick a vegetarian into eating meat. Oh. And that guy's gone. Scrambled eggs really needs to actually complete part of the obby in order to see the true difficulty of this. Because, chat, if I'm being honest, this is quite easy, just the first bits of Devoid, just going through it. It's to the point where I just don't really focus on it, and I still make it somehow. But then when you actually get to something like Section 3, it becomes really difficult, and then once you actually get to the prison bit, then that's when that's when it's at its true difficulty. I mean, I still think Stairway to Heaven might just be a little bit more tricky, but I am really not sure. Because I don't actually think I've really taken that good of a look into what makes Stairway to Heaven just tricky. I mean, I did join at one time and I wasn't able to complete the first jump, but that was a few months ago. I mean, maybe I might have it recently, but yeah. I'm just really not sure. I mean, I definitely have visited Infinity. Infinity is certainly tricky. With Infinity, it was just all jumped once and then nobody's really done anything else with it. I mean, maybe somebody else might have all jumped it, but well, then again, I think a lot of people would have, just looking at the badges, but to say the least, Infinity is just not really possible. Just clearing it, just like how I'm clearing Devoid, because this is one of the most difficult obbies just in Roblox in general that has been computed. And one of the sections in Infinity is just it's just generally so much more tricky, because I think with Devoid, I think it's either 8,000 or 80,000. I really forgot how much more tricky Devoid is than just Tower of Hell, but it's that much. And then just Infinity is just a million times more tricky than that. So to say the least, Devoid is just not that near how tricky, just or near to the level of Infinity, and I think it would be more like 80,000. Just because of how I'm almost thinking just how would it reach to a million, but then again, I'm really not sure. It might just be 8,000. Although I will definitely have to look that up, because both of those just seem almost wrong to me when I'm just thinking about it just closely. And I just walked off the edge. Damn it. I think I was actually pretty close to just that one area that I don't know the name of. Which I genuinely am wondering what that name is. Because right now I'm just calling it just an ancient town just up there. But I really can't be sure what it's actually called. And something I have generally been watching lately is just Breaking Bad, and I'm glad I've started watching it. Because with Breaking Bad, my relationship between just Breaking Bad is, well, prior. It's just the fact that a whole bunch of my friends were just wanting me to watch it. And then just another one of my friends was just cosplaying as him for Halloween. It was an amazing costume, and for the most part I just watched it a bit. There was just too much exposition for my tiny kid brain, so I just left it at that. And then just looking at just ratings on series and seeing how just Breaking Bad is 9.5 out of 10 versus Free Run that's just 8.9, just one of the most brilliant shows in my opinion. I was generally curious because, well, I just saw it in the past, didn't really feel it, and just almost looking at it. And it was even higher than both Death Note and Rick and Morty too. Which, to say the least, both of those shows are also quite nice, and even Game of Thrones. And to say the least, I'm glad I'm starting to watch it again. I've gone back and it's generally awesome. I mean, I highly recommend you guys go and watch Breaking Bad because, well, I don't really want to spoil it for anyone who just hasn't. Because a lot of what it does rely on is just deception and just trying to get you thinking one thing or just wondering about what's happening next throughout the entirety of the episode until it happens. I mean, even then I still feel like it's enjoyable enough, even if I did get spoilers, to actually see it. But I think I will just move to another topic before I just blabber about just everything I like about it, just like I did with Main Abyss. So I think I'm almost just going to go to the topic of Choo Choo Charles because, well, a lot of what was happening around that release is just a whole bunch of Saul Goodman memes, and it just reminded me of Choo Choo Charles because of how both of those just came out at around the same time, or at least I started watching that. And that game is generally interesting because I think a lot about what it was the guy was just on it for ages, just trying to make, well, Choo Choo Charles perfect, because the dude had a wider audience than he thought he would, and I mean, I can't really make him for wanting to, oh, blame him, I mean, for making a game better than he would have intended it to be. So I think it would have been an extra 2 or 3 years afterwards, and he definitely did deliver. I mean, I don't know if I'd say Choo Choo Charles was my favorite game ever to watch. Definitely seems more fun than it is to actually spectate somebody playing it. Just with the gameplay, just something about shooting a giant as creepypasta version of Thomas the Tank Engine just really screams to me like it would be fun. There's miniguns, flamethrowers. I think there's the shotgun piece as well. I do definitely remember that there were 4 guns in total on there. Just on the Choo Choo Charles destroyer train, because I don't actually know what that regular train is called. the train just keeps coming back and back, and a lot of what the game's actually about is just doing challenges in there too. Because I think there was one challenge where you just find a pickle jar for somebody because there's this person who's for some reason really obsessed with pickles, and she just generally screams over them. You found my pickles! And that's just everything about her. Which generally does make for a hilarious character. And I mean, I don't really blame the creator just for making just a lot of the NPCs just crazy. Because, well, they are just on an island where a giant man-eating train lives, and a lot about what the game is just hunting for these eggs too, that are just there. And as you go, you collect scrap metal, upgrade your weapons, go on other quests to get, well, more weapons, and you're just generally traveling on a train, which is sick. Because when I was a kid, I was just really into trains. I think I remember just even going on a bike just to see a train station when I was 4 years old. Because, Chad, I was obsessed. I was obsessed to the point where I did that, and overall I don't really remember much from that trip. All I know is that I just was bored on just one evening, and yeah, just decided to go out. My parents were really sick though. I just remember going off and just almost seeing the world just with a whole bunch of colors, just almost like everything was in just a Disney animation or something, just almost like a techie futuristic town. And honestly, it probably wouldn't have been that in the slightest. I mean, it could have been. Because I just remember these just funny shaped castle-like buildings too. Just the castle tops. Even something like these pillars, except with the little thingy, and yeah, I was just really happy when I was out there. And then I just remember my parents telling me that I was just found by just a random ambulance. Well, really. What do you call people who drive ambulances? Just doctor? Yeah, by just a doctor driving an ambulance just going past, or even a nurse. That might be what that refers to. Yeah, just by a nurse going on a regular patrol, and he just sees just a 4-year-old just lying on the sidewalk, just making snow angels and concrete, and I remember just being just the grumpiest I've ever been, just being transported back in a cop car. Because that generally is what happened. So it definitely was quite the interesting experience, to say the least, and it's probably the earliest memories I would have just in my entire existence, just grabbing my bike, seeing the world in a very exaggerated picture, and me just sitting in a cop car. Then that's just the entire story, just playing out in my head, just how much filler there would need to be in order for me to actually remember something like that. Which really makes it a very vivid memory, to say the least. And also when I came home too, and my parents are just worried sick about me as well. Can't forget about that bit, because they just did their best to just guilt trip me into not going out again, because, well, to say the least, I just really didn't care back then, and I was just more curious about what's out there rather than stick with my parents, except when there was just other kids around, then I would just hold on to their pant leg and I just would not let go. That was pretty much the type of person that I was just back then. I think another game I'll just talk about is just Ban Ban, because I remember watching Jacksepticeye's playthrough of it, and it generally is just the worst horror game that's ever gotten attention. And even Jack himself just exclaims that. I don't even remember the full story because I do think some of the episodes were from ages ago. Although they have been pumping them out quite a bit. So you as the player are just put into this daycare because you're trying to find your child, and there's a whole bunch of stuff around. Just a red monster with 2 party hats, and that's Ban Ban and some other characters that were just there, and the goal of the game is to just I don't even know what the goal quite is. I mean, I think it is just saving the kid, but I can't be asked to do a Google search, so I don't quite know what it is. I think it is about just finding radioactive sludge and seeing how that works as well. That might be a extra plot point in there, because that's what actually powers just the Garden of Ban Ban characters. So it starts off with you just going in there, and there's this bird that just peeks its head around the corner, and honestly the music scares you more than the actual bird does, and you can just explore more, and then there's just a mini game where you're just shoving eggs down its gullet because, well, that's how that type of bird just holds its eggs. It just digests them. Which honestly would be quite valid just if you just had either a really tough shell or really weak innards or both. I'm actually surprised that there's just not a type of animal that would just gulp down their eggs and just have that as a reality, but on the entirety of the time it was just this kindergarten play area where you just have all these eggs, and that was pretty much what happened. Each time you shoved an egg down the bird's gullet, the closer you were to getting a key to unlock a door through a glass case. Which then when the player realizes, wait, this bird's actually alive, it just then starts chasing the player, and then the player has to do parkour. Definitely is quite an interesting sequence, just you think it's a statue, even though you saw it before, and then it just comes alive. Which, something I would say does this much better is just Huggy Wuggy from Poppy Playtime, just him looking like he's a statue. But then he just isn't. Like, that's generally a good sequence because he's just generally there to just hunt down people. And there's also clear motivation on why he wants to do that in the first place, because later in the Ban Ban story, that damn bird is then just a chariot for the player, which There's definitely an interesting type of difference. But yeah, for the most part, I still just think... Yeah, that just really proves my point, actually. I don't really need to justify it any further. Batman did the bird bad. They just baited a misunderstood character, and that's just what happens. Whereas Huggy Wuggy is just a cold-blooded killer that just stalks you throughout the entirety of the adventure, and there are times where just Huggy Wuggy is just spying on you and you don't really know it. Through events, and it really is suspicious how just Huggy Wuggy just appears from this door like they knew that the player just wanted to go in that direction, just almost gatekeeping every other way, just so then once that one way appears, it's just bam, you're put back, and it's just not something you can really avoid. Which it really does allude to the fact that just Huggy Wuggy just actually wants to go for the kill now because the player has seen him. And is starting to just track weaknesses. So Huggy Wuggy just goes through the vents, just as you are. Because there is just something about a gigantically horrifying creature that just goes into vents and jump scares you every time you fail. That just is generally horrifying. Especially when Huggy just has all those giant and sharp teeth. It really is crazy how just the writing just dropped, and well, just the entire series in general just dropped in quality each time you get a new part. I guess it just really feels like that one dog day scene in chapter 3 is the only thing that made that good, and then chapter 4 is just evil scientist underestimates player defeats evil scientist, and then big win. My bad, chat. Nice if you guys heard that, because I don't even know if you guys can hit Discord notifications from just my other laptop. It's actually been quite a while since I have gone Discord notifications. Just on there. Except when it's some random Minecraft ping or try that streaming. Or even this one Gal the Arsonist group that I'm just in. Which I do actually feel kind of bad about something, because there was this conversation that I was having with an old friend, and then they were just drawing something, it looked pretty good. I commented on how good it looked and asking how to draw it, and they were just saying stuff about it being a bean and just going into very stupid topics like, does English communication count as just English class? And just seeing how they would respond, which it was worth asking that, because it was just, oh yeah, it might just look a little bit deformed, so it's pretty much given me free reign to just draw anything and show it to her. But then in the end I just completely forgot when it was actually period 2 English, and I remembered just as the last day had passed, so I can't even really draw something to make it believable. Because chat, forgetting for like one day could be valid if you just want to make the drawing better, but just not really sending anything for just 6 days afterwards, which honestly I could just lie about when I would have had English period 2 and be done with that, but at this point it would have just been better to stay quiet, because I don't think I'm going to go that far if they just ever check my planner and just see that that was just not a reality. Which I don't really think would happen, but I think it's just mostly because I just don't want to lie. And I just do not know why I cannot do that today. Maybe I might be pressing jump too late. That jump has just been plaguing me. I was going to Ban at chapter 1. They just pretty much have that bird as just the main antagonist throughout the entire way, and then it just ends off with just a character called Jumbo Josh. I just remember him because it's funny. And he just crashes into this giant elevator as you're just going down, and I mean, it would have been scary if you just didn't expect it, because, well, every other place is just quite light, and then there's just this one very dark place with an elevator, and then it's just thinking, when is a jump scare gonna happen? And then just it does, with a giant green creature, which they could have honestly made Jumbo Josh just more scary. Although, to be fair, they could have really done that with just any character. At this point, even just silly Flynn, I don't even know what his name actually is. Just that orange jellyfish in there that just, I mean, they did a good job when it comes to, in a way, disguising him. Because they made him small in just the paintings, and then they made him big, which I will give credit when it's due, chat. That was actually kind of cool. Because I was just almost expecting just this almost like tentacle looking thing that just appears and it's like, yo dude, what's up? I'm trying to find me some water so I can bathe. And that's just the reality. But then it's just the dude just wanting, I think he just wants to become a jellyfish. Which honestly is kind of stupid of a plot. Everything about Ban is stupid. I think I will just play it just to see if I can complete the story. And something else that I forgot about was just this drone that just makes a kathonk sound every time you hit a wall. I remember Jack just laughing at that constantly. And then you have to do a lot of tedious puzzles of those, of that drone as well. Which I think that is in the majority of the gameplay, except for that one egg hunt and Oppie just at the end of chapter 1. Which I think a lot of what chapter 1 is actually about is just learning how to use that. So then next chapter you crashed. Josh is just sitting there just unconscious. And then you just explore the facility more. At least from what I recall. I don't think my memory is that good of chapter 2. I don't even know if it is that good of chapter 1, just because of how much I probably would have forgotten from there. But you're just going around the room, just in a more underground place. And ultimately, I think I'm just gonna skip to a whole bunch of things that I saw, which there was this giant nail with a smiley face and eyes that just stares at you the entire time. It just looks like it's about to just move extremely fast down into the ground where it can actually be a nail or something. Just almost having, instead of its eyes or mouth as a weakness, it's just its tail, and it's like, I don't want anyone touching my tail, and then that's just the entire reality of it. Which it would be very funny, but then the nail just screws you over. Yeah, my bad, chat. It just stares at you the entire time. I really do not know how I got screwed from stare. And that's pretty much what it does. throughout the entire time as you go through 4 different rooms, and there's even at one point where you just get guided by Ban Ban, and it's like, go this way, go that way. I'm a talking voice that is broadcasting throughout the entirety of the place. I'm human, trust, and yeah, it's just not human. And then Ban Ban is like, I had a terrible nightmare. I was hunting people's pancreases, and I was enjoying it. Please don't sue me. And there was like this girl Ban Ban, it was like, come over for a tea party. And then it's just all these school lessons where it's just, this is math, and then she just does your math equations, and if you get anything wrong, she just bites your neck off and just chews your head down as your just lifeless body is just bleeding, and it's kinda gory. In my head, I don't actually know if that's the reality. God, Ban Ban is too kid-friendly for that to actually be the reality, but then again, it could be. And you're just running away. It would have been hilarious if they just animated them just with putting their shoulders as high as they can, just leaning their head forward, and then just having just the most generic walk animation of just not having them move their arms, and then that's how they chase after you. Mouth just opens slowly. Wait, his name was Stinger Flynn, right? Stinger Flynn. And I think a lot of what the story is also about is just finding Stinger Flynn as well. And also just about how everyone was just created from this other person, and then just Ban Ban was like, yeah, I'm Ban Ban. And then there was a guy that was copied from his DNA, or that copied his DNA into Ban Ban, and was like, hey guys, I'm Dan. Ban Ban no like Dan, so Dan walked away, and Ban Ban was left crying because he actually thought he was unique, and well, he wasn't, so that's a skill issue for him, and he just locked himself away for a bit. And then there was like this one person who just kept going to Ban Ban to try and comfort him, and for a while Ban Ban was actually like, oh, you know, this girl is mean as. Until Ban Ban was like, she's just doing it to be company, to which they just made the girl version of Ban Ban, because that's like, hey look Ban Ban, you got your own version of you, and it's just like, you're not helping. You're just making more clones so then they have the same reality as me. That's just not how this works. Which honestly, at that point, Ban Ban would be smarter than a scientist, but then again, I suppose they could try and just make a complete clone of just this random-ass person in order to do... well, not to just comfort Ban Ban, and... it really isn't that obvious why the kindergarten just went down in flames. Or into a secret cellar where there's mutant beasts that are just roaming around. And acting like they just don't have any problems already, they just make a whole bunch of people. Especially this one guy named Nab Nab, who is just made to be hated. And then that's just a reality of him. It's just like, oh, me no liking Nab Nab. Nab Nab out of here. No. And then it's just Nab Nab just hunting down any sort of life because, well, Nab Nab was just made not to be liked. And the way how to actually stop Nab Nab is by getting this person named Nabalina, I'm not making that up, and just having them just make out while you leave the room. I don't even know why you're going to the room. I think you're just there to do puzzles and stuff, just to extend the game out more. There was also this guy who just had half just furry and half just weird jester that just roams around the entirety of the factory. I mean, I think he's just kind of furry, but then he's also still kind of jester. To say the least, one half is green, one half is purple, and one of them has an afro. Maybe both halves actually have fur, so maybe that guy just might be just a furry just because of how both halves make a whole, and that's just a reality. But yeah, he certainly was just a guy that just chased people just menacingly. And that was pretty much it. I don't really know what else he does. I think there was like this queen that just gets absolutely annihilated by him. And that's just the reality. And then there was also this Sheriff Toadstool guy. You just do a lot of puzzles around him, and then he just arrests you and brings you to the Queen, and then that's actually how you get there in the first place. It's like, did you see a jester anywhere? The player just goes silent. Alright, no jester. And then the jester appears. Why didn't you tell us about the jester? Which honestly, all protagonists just don't really say anything, so there's no real big surprise there, and I really don't think there's been too many good horror games lately. I mean, I definitely did like Bendy. That one was a really nice one. Because the things I like about Bendy was just how generally scary it was to just play in there. Because I remember as a child just looking at just YouTubers just scream just constantly, but then I just watch them and it's just not something I really wanted to deal with, and I just remember jumping out of my seat whenever just chase scenes that I've already seen happen are just happening, so I definitely can see why some of the YouTubers are just scared, or at least Jacksepticeye. Markiplier is also quite scared, I think, and might have even watched Dantedium play it a bit. I don't think I watched Dantedium that much, but just to the point where I've just got his reaction just plastered in my head is just seeing how that is. Well, just how I was seeing how that is, I should say. So it definitely was just quite the good game, and I don't even know if there are too many other good horror games because it's just killer goes after player. The end. I mean, a lot of them are quite entertaining, just almost the picky styles of that, or even Granny, because that's just the original style of it. I don't know why I just refer to it back as picky. I think it is mostly just to say it's a copy version, so maybe I might just call it the picky version just because. Like, Granny is just generally taken a hit as well. Which I definitely am glad that they just cut the game at a certain spot so then it's actually a completable thing, because a lot of the time people just make new worlds if it just gets even the slightest bit more popular, which Piggy just keeps doing. I think they even have events just once in a while when Minitoon just feels like it'll win a Roblox event is just happening. They're just like, you know, let's make this extra bit just for, well, players to just join our game just for one session and then probably not play it ever again until another one of these comes out. Which it has worked for me quite a bit of times. I just play some Piggy events. I mean, I don't usually win them because I'm not that dedicated towards just, well, Piggy. Which I can't really say that it's a ripoff and that's why I'm not dedicated to it, because with 1999s it's just basically Don't Starve but Robloxified, which I still definitely do just want to play Don't Starve as well. that was genuinely fun. Well, fun when I was watching it, of course. I keep referring it back to just 99 Nights, but it's just not it, and I mean, I do think I would just enjoy 99 Nights more because it's just the Roblox version. It's a very refined version with just a kit that just allows you to start with an alien blaster so you can just kill everything in your path, and it's hilarious, but just almost being in a world where you just don't have an alien blaster could be interesting too. And as much as it's fun to just generally have a quest to just kill everything in your lobby, I still just want to see what the original game actually has to offer. Especially how it's just been plagiarized by another game, and how I've generally played more that game rather than the original. And they've even collabed with Terraria as well, which they do seem kind of like just generally similar. Because it's just Terraria overshadowed by Minecraft, and Don't Starve overshadowed by Roblox, or even Roblox overshadowing both, and Minecraft just overshadowing both, because, well, both of those are just much more competitive and generally are just more entertaining for just younger generations and maybe even older generations alike to just watch. Maybe not quite generations, but you guys get the point. Big Hungry Deer is better than no real antagonist that you really know of in Don't Starve. And then Minecraft just being a more relaxing game and at the same time more competitive than Terraria, except when it comes to just being overcomplicated. Although there might even be Minecraft mods that do that too. So I think the only reason why you'd really download Terraria over just Minecraft is just maybe just specifically just some things in Terraria that makes it good, or just the fact that it's an original game, which, for what I've seen, Terraria definitely has a lot of similar things to Minecraft. Which it's almost wondering which one copied each other, or who had the same ideas, because they have got very similar just hearts and bubbles just there. So it definitely is just me wondering, is there something going on here? Especially how there is also just a whole bunch of other things, which I can't really name off the top of my head, because I think it was just more playing through. I mean, it definitely is just a substitute for scaffolding with just these planks that you could just put down, and with Terraria you can actually place blocks in just the middle of the air just regularly. This is Minecraft that you can. Although with Terraria as well, there are just more bosses there, so that could be quite a nice game changer, and it also just promotes more teamwork versus... I feel like if me, Trilad, Delza, Hedis, and Weaster just put into the same Minecraft world, it's just gonna be chaos. Mainly because I'm in there, but still, chat, chaos. Because there's just so much to really survive in Terraria that you just don't really focus on just beating each other up with wooden axes. Because it really will just be if I just see somebody with just the littlest of resources, then I'm just gonna go at them. At least if it really comes down to that point, which... I mean, at the beginning of the Minecraft session, I probably just won't really attack anybody until somebody attacks me first. Which maybe at that point I might just die because of how much just axes deal. I am still generally curious about Minecraft because I do just want to see what happens, because no matter what, it definitely will be entertaining just if we actually just all build a giant world together, just creating houses or just teaming up for just building just some random stuff like dragons, castles, and it definitely has more to offer with just building materials than Terraria as well. I mean, I feel like you could build quite a few cool things in Terraria too. They'll just all have to be 2D, and you can't really get too good of a view unless you just dig under your build, or just have just an elevator in the creature. I mean, you can build houses, which a lot of those do look cool. Even Trilad's just up arrow looked pretty sick. Just almost as just this giant building just in the middle of the floor, and it was also amazing how there was just an actual sky island up there. I mean, I don't know how rare those are, but it definitely is quite nice to just see something point in a certain direction and it actually being true. Definitely is nice when that happens. Because I don't really remember any specific cases of this, but there are just times where it's just really funny to see as somebody's like, oh yeah, that way. Just almost trying to get someone to go anywhere but here, and that it actually being the case, which I don't think I've really done that before. If anything, I've actually done the opposite, because I just remember there was just one time I was just walking to school and there was just a dog just without any owner just walking across the streets. I don't even know if it had a collar on it, but it was just on the other side of the road, just walking on the sidewalk, and it was just me staring at it like, who was irresponsible enough to let that out? Because it wasn't even a small dog ever. It was just a giant dog, which, if you guys don't know, in New Zealand there's just a lot of times where there's just dogs everywhere. There's even one just massive dog that could probably even go up to my height, which I'm about 5'9". I think I'm a little bit shorter. And it could just put its paws on my shoulder and then it would just tower above me. And then that dog is just sitting on just a driveway just on the way as I walk, and I mean, honestly, that dog is really chilled out. It just lies there and just gets pet by just random strangers that go to it. Also, just know the owner as well, so I think even if it did want to go after anyone, they just really wouldn't. I mean, it has been a while since I've really talked to that owner, as I think a lot of it was when I actually went out with my dad while he was walking just the family dogs. It was just some people that just came to that same area just regularly. And yeah, we just met because that dude just lives right outside of that same area and he just walks his dog almost every day around there. I actually remember seeing it as a puppy too, which it really didn't look like a puppy when it was, chat. It was just the size of a regular dog. So just seeing that as the puppy was just making me confused the entire time. And then I just see it just one day as just this behemoth, which it just feels like one of those type of dogs that's just like, I'm nice to you as long as you don't push me, and then it's just really mean. At least is what I get the impression of, just as this giant just pure black dog. that just towers above anyone if it's standing up on its hind legs. Just there, menacingly. And there was also this other time where there was a dog just upping my leg, which was quite funny. I don't think the dude could tell. Which I've actually seen just a lot of memes about that, just with dogs just doing that to just random things. I think there was even one time where there was a chicken, and then the dog just lunged itself on top of the chicken. It was a small dog, so it wasn't really bad. I think the chicken even just attacked it again. I didn't really see the full video, but it was definitely funny. Just seeing that. There's even this one time where I was just, yeah, just the squeakiest toy in the world, and then just every time the dog just hit it, it just made a squeak, and it would just go squeak, 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 and then that was just the entire video. It was beautiful. Which actually reminds me about this other video that I watched where there was this guy who just made an entire whack-a-mole station just to test his dogs, and there's like this one very small yet angry dog that was just trying to get the sausage, and you could tell it was generally in pain because it just couldn't get it. And it even just started lashing out at the other dogs, so that the owners just had to stop. It was generally the most ridiculous video that I had ever seen of just genuine dog rage. Which even just, my old dog Tessa, she is a type of breed of dog, Australian Terrier, that is generally bred to go into just rabbit nests, just being small enough to fit in and deadly enough to just rip into shreds. And that's her type of dog. She just goes off and just chases ducks and tries to hunt them down. And just anything that moves that my parents have strictly said, well, other from things that my parents have strictly said that just aren't on the menu. She even just backed away. She just didn't really care about the sausage. She just wasn't nearly as angry. I don't even think she was really angry. I think she was just like, oh yeah, I'm not meant to have that, I'm just gonna go. And then that was just the entire reality. So then just seeing how much that dog was just enraged just over that was hilarious, and it was just generally anticlimactic when I just built a similar setup out of cardboard and did the same thing. To which both of my dogs just decided to not really participate. Which was anticlimactic. Because I thought it would be to the point where it would just be the dogs would start raging. But no. I get more of a reaction just with a party blower when it comes to a border collie. Because my dog Mars just really doesn't like those, just the sound, and with how much my parents had just made him fearful of just going up stairs, just because of how, I don't even know, I think they just asserted that as soon as he came into the household, and they just knew that that area was off limits forever. Because no matter how many times I shouted him just in the car to just stop barking, because it's just always him just right next to my ears just barking, and then it just generally sucks. And he just was afraid to go up there for a bit. Which he does sometimes now, but yeah, originally he just didn't, and he even rushed up the stairs just to bark at me when I just was blowing it, and the dude just was growling and everything, which he just never really did to anything else. And he didn't really bite me either unless I did it right up in his face, which it honestly was less of a bite and just more of a intimidation tactic where he would just rub his slobber around me. Because dogs have generally just impressive reaction time, and just my border collie just always knew how to make it look like he was biting me without actually biting me, because he knows that just humans just don't have as much reaction time. Or maybe he just did things randomly, because I think he did accidentally bite me like one time and he just didn't realize. Which honestly didn't really hurt too much, and he didn't really do it that hard, so meh. I still gotta give him credit for that, at least. Now, she has very much done less of now. He's become way more of a tranquil dog. I think it's just mostly because he's getting old and he just doesn't really care about a lot of things except for barking at every type of vehicle that just isn't a regular car just because he doesn't get it. Because he just goes all out when he sees a train because he's just never really been in there. And so I almost just want to take him on just a train that allows dogs just to see how he reacts, just almost seeing how fast the train goes, and to see if he barks, because if I just keep telling him no, then maybe he just might not get excited when it comes to trains anymore. Or even on an electric scooter. As much as border collies are usually quite nippy, just Mars isn't. But then when it comes to barking, he just doesn't stop. So generally is that reality of just non-stop, just dog speaking, and if I could change it, I would, but yeah, he's just not really budging anymore. He's even been able to do more as an old dog because, well, there was this one time where his joints were just really bad, and he just sometimes just was quite snappy because of that. Just towards my other dog Tessa, while she was just still alive, and they'll just both growl at each other a bit, so my parents just got on this medication to make his joints just not deteriorate, and he generally feels better, which is pretty good, and he can now go on runs again. Because he is in dog years, from what I know, just 60 years old, which is generally insane. So he definitely has lasted quite a while. Which I think a lot about why dogs just sometimes die early is just the fact that you just give them just things that they shouldn't have. I do think that was one of the reasons why my dog Tessa just, well, didn't last as long as she could have, because I mean, it's not the fact that we'd given her anything, it's the fact that she just could not stop eating things, just when she could. Because there was this one time where she just raided the cupboard when me and my parents were out, and she just knew that she had the chance to. Don't know, I just walked up with everything. And she just had just so many packets of just dental bones just laid around her. She was just flat out just snoring. It was just the first time that she just hasn't curled herself up in a ball because, well, my dog is very suspicious and just always on guard. Just because of how she's just, well, that type of dog breed. And then she's just laying down on her back, just tummy up, just sleeping because of how she just had a ton of food. She was not moving until the next day. And she did recover from that, and also just because of how she just also licks off of just plates, just gets into food, and there are just always times where just my mum always had to tell her off just because of how she left a plate on the couch, and she just scurries along, jumps on the couch, and just eats stuff when nobody's looking, which she didn't dare go for just meals that already just had a full meal on there because she knew she was absolutely going to get annihilated if she ever did. Which my parents still shouted at her when she did just go up on there because onions are generally toxic for dogs, so it's not so good when most dishes that me and my family eat are just onion. Because in the end, she did have just liver failure. So we had to take her to the vet and... yeah. But there were definitely some other funny things, like... there was this one time where she caught a rat, and... it was generally her proudest moment ever because, well, she had never really caught anything because... we never really taught her how to because... I don't even know if we really need rats. Because it's just with mouse traps, you just almost have it as just this thing that just kills the rat instantly. Just without blood. But then you've got a dog just marching along with just a rat in its mouth. Being all happy, and honestly, we didn't really scold her for it because, well, again, rats are still a nuisance and it does save us having to buy traps, but yeah, just in case the rats are ever alive, I don't think we're really going to ever teach her to just, well, we never really taught her to just actually go for them either. Same with Mars. Mars just isn't really taught how to, yet he just always chases after them. He certainly isn't as fast. Because I think a lot of Mars's backstory was just a sheepdog, but then his owner didn't really like him. Maybe because he probably killed a cat or something. That honestly could have been what he would have done to get there, because he just goes ballistic over cats, and it's just not really something that my family just ever wants him anywhere near, including me. Because, yeah, it's just not that good to let dogs after cats. So, that might be the reason, but he still was just such a perfect dog other from that, just with how that's the worst case scenario of what he could have done. Because if he would have done anything worse, then he would have been put down than just killing a cat. Which, he could just be put as a rescue dog because, well, his owner didn't really want him anymore and he just let him free. And then the pound got him, and then that's just where he's at. Which I do think my mum was just very not really wanting him from the beginning because, not at the beginning, I mean. Because he was just a fluffy dog, because he's also one of those border collies that are just ridiculously fluffy. So then there would just be hair everywhere, because that was the one requirement that my mum put in for just new dogs, just for it not to really shed. But then my dad was just so into just getting a border collie because, well, first of all, they're really smart dogs. Second of all, Mars just didn't really bite, so that's the one thing that a border collie would usually have that just Mars didn't, so that's gone. And just with Mars just generally being a really friendly dog, and he was just perfect for the household because my other dog Tessa just would already go for cats, so just having another dog that did that as well just isn't really a bad thing because they just have both already set their mind on things, which there are definitely some bad habits that Tessa has just taught to Mars that he still does even after she's gone. Like getting into things he shouldn't, and generally being just more and more daring when it comes to things, and There are some moments where you just see just a whole bunch of muck on his forehead because the dog can't tell his own reflection, so my parents are just always looking at him angrily when he just has dust on his head because you can just tell that he just dug a hole. And then they'll just... I mean, I don't really think he's that good at digging, so they might not have to fill it up properly. Which, something else he does that's worse is he just sometimes rolls in his own poo as well. I don't really know why he does this, but that's just what he does as well. I mean, it wasn't really taught from Tessa at all. It's just more when it comes to sneaking food and trying to get away with it. One thing that he's definitely kept is just whenever I go to the kitchen just to, well, make some sort of sandwich or any sort of food at all, he just waits until I go back upstairs and then he goes in because he knows he's just not supposed to be in the kitchen. Which it doesn't really help that just food is always served to him in there as well, so the dog just genuinely does do it because of that partially, but yeah, overall I do think it was more Tessa's influence, and it might even be a little bit because of old age as well, just with the dog just knowing just a lot of things and taking advantage of that as well. Which could be just another thing that he might do. But for the moment, I'd still say he's generally not so bad. I mean, he does also put his feet on top of just the car seat in the back, which originally my dad was just very strict on him just not doing that, but then as he kept doing it, as his just bones grew healthier, he just kept wanting to get back up, and it was to the point that my dad would just not really care about the car's health just because of how the dog just seemed to generally enjoy being able to see. I mean, it does promote him to just bark, though, because he can actually see what's happening around him. Which at that point what I'll do is I'll just put cardboard at the back of the boot where we usually keep him, just so then he just can't really see out. Well, doesn't really want to hop up because every time we just go out, he's just always sad that he just can't really go out, and then that's just usually his fun. I mean, also walks too, because my parents do usually take him out just every single day. There are some days where he just doesn't go out because, well, my mum and dad just don't feel like going on a walk that day. Which is honestly fair enough, but yeah. It just generally is interesting how just bored he just always seems. I mean, I do think he does like watching TV, but I really can't be sure. Something he generally does enjoy, though, is just watching as just my chickens get fed as well, because my family has got chickens, and yeah, he just is really excited just to see chickens peck each other, because, to say the least, the pecking order does come from chickens, because, well, chickens peck each other just to tell each other things instead of words, so it's just move out of the way, and then it's just a quick blop. The most interesting thing about that is just, well, chickens just don't even peck me at all when I feed them. Which is definitely interesting. I mean, they do peck to eat, but they don't really do it hard at all. So I think it is more just to assert dominance, just as a thing they do. Because I remember back when I was actually just well, me and my mum are just in the phase where we just really wanted to hatch out chickens because we just got 2 chickens from this market where there was just a whole bunch of silky chickens, and we just got the 2 that, well, looked the best to us because my mum got this one that just really looked like she could be in an award-winning show. It was just perfect in every way. It had just light colored feathers that had a little bit of a red tint to it, and she called her Cinnamon. Everything was perfect about her, and then I just get this chicken that I named Ruby that was just, well, everything the opposite, because it was just this wonky chicken that was slightly going bald on the top. It had 2 different colored eyes, and she generally just looked very much rugged, which is why I picked her out of just the hundreds of chickens that were just there. And then those 2 just, well, we had for a bit. Tessa almost, well, killed one of them until my mum stopped her, just being like, Tessa no, and then she just didn't bite the chicken, because originally what was happening is just my mum was just telling me just to not hold the chicken just near the door, and I think she was just trying to make sure that just Tessa didn't really know about the chickens until she did. And with how my mum just asserted the fact that those chickens are just not something that you kill, she just dropped the wing of just Ruby as she was about to get bitten, and yeah. Because I think she did have her by the wing, but she didn't really bite down, which was good. So yeah, she just let her go, and it wasn't even at the wing too, it was just in between the feathers, so yeah, she just went free, and the dog just never really attacked them again, which was pretty sick. Which I definitely do have to hand it to my parents for training up Tessa, which they just decided not to when it came to Mars, because when Tessa was a puppy, my parents were just very strict with her. She just went to dog shows and was just the prettiest dog there constantly. Well, until just the judges just kept judging her on her size because, well, she was a very big dog compared to a lot of other Australian Terriers. She was just not really fat, but yeah, she was just tall. And because of that, she just never really won any awards, which was kind of sad. But yeah, they just really went into training her, but then just with my dog Mars, I just do the exact opposite, and I just really relax when it comes to him. It even got to the point where I just have to train him just so he's not just playing Squid Game with us. Because he does this with my mum a lot, where when she turns around, he just scutters forward. And even when it's sometimes obvious, my mum just is like down, and then he's just not really getting punished for it. Which for me, I'm just usually Sergeant Major about that. Because, well, I just want some sort of authority over the dog if he just keeps barking in the car, because there were times where I just tell him no and then he just keeps barking, to which now that I feed him more, I've got more control over him, because the thing about my dog Mars is he responds very easily to food. If there's a treat involved, he will do anything that you want in order to get it. So him knowing that I have control over his food, he is not going to risk messing with me, so it's just to the point where he's just sitting down still for 30 seconds at a time, longer if he moves, and he just sits there the majority of the time as I'm just preparing his food, and he doesn't scutter even the least. Because there are times where, while I was training him, I just withheld his food because it was in the mornings, and with just the dog biscuits that we used to give to him in the mornings. We still do, actually. It just wasn't really necessary because medium to large dogs just always had this giant, like, sausage roll thing. Well, just this giant sausage, I should say. And then that was just his main form of subsistence. So it was almost just as a little bit of a snack, just something that he can have that was different. And with how everything went, my parents just believed me over the dog because he just always acts like he wants more food anyways, or just the fact that he hasn't been fed. So then I just say, oh yeah, he's been fed, and the dog just realizes, wait. If I just neglect what Bandit is telling me, I'm not going to get any food. So now he's just very much just patient when it comes to me, and he would honestly wait a full 10 minutes if I wanted to make him wait that long, just at a time, just for me to serve his food. At least that's what I predict. I don't actually know if he would. I have definitely made him wait 5 minutes before just because of how stroppy he was being one day. So then he just gets his food now, because I don't think I've actually had to take away his food for just months, so he definitely is getting enough food, and if anything, he is getting a little bit chubby, so don't worry about him, guys, he's fine. My parents definitely need to take him on more walks, because I mean, they do usually do it daily, but there are just sometimes that, or some days that they just don't, which if I were just less lazy, then I would just walk him as well, because, well, I really cannot be talking when it comes to dog walking when I just don't really walk him either, because I'm just too busy playing Devoid to do that. And I feel like it would just be better for him if he just had just 2 walks a day, just to almost be able to explore everything, but one of the reasons why I just don't is because he just usually disobeys me when I just give him the littlest bit of freedom. Because there was this one time where I was just trying to walk him every single day, just twice, just while my parents were on holiday, just doing one walk with him and Tessa, because Tessa was old at the time, and just around the block. And then just me just walking him just on this extra long walk where he can be let off the leash and just go about, but then he just started eating grass and just pooping in places where I just didn't really know, so I just had to keep going back just to see, and when I tried teaching him how to heal, he just neglected everything I was saying, and Chad, I don't want to have to bring treats in order to teach him things that he should just, well, do, because he knows the word come, and he doesn't even go to me when I tell him to just get over here, so I just decided to just walk him less. I mean, I did definitely throughout the entirety of the holidays, but well, when my parents were away on holiday, I should say. To say the least, there's that reason why I just don't really do too many walks with him. Plus, don't really give too much attention. Because the reason why I actually don't like him eating grass is because he just throws it back up on the ground, and I just have to clean up after when he does that. So it just generally is more favorable for me to just not really walk him because of that. Especially when my parents are already walking him, so he's getting just the minimal amount of excitement each day. Overall, I still do kind of wish that he would get more walks, but I'd only really do it if his attitude just suddenly becomes more relaxed. Just if his bones just get weak again, then I might just allow him more walks, because he just won't really feel like running away from me and getting pulled back every time. So that definitely is something that might actually be in the future. Especially if my parents just stopped walking him just one day. I'd be obligated to walk him at that point. It'll probably be after stream, of course. And especially with how I just don't really have anything else entertaining to do just after stream other from just watching Breaking Bad, because at this point I don't really think I have too many entertaining things to do other from just Terraria, just Violet and everybody else. But then again, it just is just a once a week thing where a lot of the time I am just scrambling to try to know things in Terraria anyways. So it isn't really something that would just be fun to do just every single day, just 4 days straight every time, because there isn't really, well, much you can do if it's just played out every single day. Especially just the more I play things, I just get more competitive when it comes to that. I feel like that's a lot of people, and then I just search up every way on how to do things, but then at that point it just spoils the game. Because with Minecraft now, I just almost see people just doing things that aren't strategic, and I just feel the need to critique them. Whereas just games I haven't seen are just more fun just because of that. So I don't really want to search up too many tutorials for Terraria just because of that, just generally because I just want to figure out new things as I play the game just multiple times, instead of it just being watching just Terraria just to know, oh, that's the best way to speedrun the game, now I get it. It just would feel better if I just speedrun the game my own way first, if I were to speedrun Terraria, which I do think I'd speedrun Minecraft at that point, because I already know stuff about it, I think. I mean, I don't know how to do it just right off the bat, but it definitely is something that's just really fun to do. If you actually are dedicated enough, which I'm not, so it's just kind of boring. I mean, maybe eventually if I get taught how to speedrun, then that could be good. Or if I self-teach myself something, that will more likely happen. Or even just having somebody just speedrun and I can just follow them the entire time just to see the pace. Because I think one of the things that I just would want as a streamer is just, well, or would like, I don't know if I can quite say want, but it definitely would be quite nice is just to see if there are just any good players in just specific games that I just want to play, and to just have you guys carry me, or just show me how to carry myself. And it's just one of the things that I just really like, is just to experience games and just generally know how to just be able to get good at a lot of things, because a lot of why I also want to become a streamer in the first place, or, well, a relevant streamer, is just the fact that it will just feel good to just be able to play video games and just learn every new competitive detail about things, and to just be able to be good at just newly released games without really knowing what's going on, and to almost have that as just sort of like a multiplier that just is a thing that appears, and you just rebirth every time you play another game, and each time you get 10% better or something. I mean, definitely not that much. That would be, well, at that point just a simulator. Which I suppose all being technically is, which, yeah, that's generally why I play a lot of Roblox obbies, because, well, they just got so many different things that it might translate into other games with just this much control. And especially Roblox games too, because of how just generally refined just the obby community is, with how they just make things, and how everyone's just trying to have their obby stand out from the other just by adding these new cool jumps, or just stuff that are tricky, stuff that is easy, and it's just a good mix because there's stuff like Devoid, which is tier 17, and then you've got just fun little things that you can just play, like the Tower of Green Misery, I think it was, or Green Hell. Green Nightmares, that's just a tier 4 that you can just play and beat, which is a feel-good thing to have. Because I think a lot of what I just, well, am enjoying lately about just obbying is just playing easy, just obbies and getting just all the badges from all these different games just from that. And that's just fun. And just knowing that every time I just beat something like a tier 4 that has just 1 or 2 jumps that make me struggle just a bit, I get slightly better each time I go through things, so just some obbies could just be easier than others, just that sort of practice, and just playing all the recommended ones too. That's usually how I find them. It's also interesting how some tier 5s just also feel like tier 6s as well. But I remember feeling, well, playing this gold tower, or gold obby I should say, wasn't a tower where there was just this short obby of just all these tricky jumps, and I was just able to play that for ages because I had a lot of fun playing it. And then there was just this tier 4 that just, well, tier 5 actually, that just felt like an absolute hell to play. I just really couldn't wrap around my head why it was fun. Which I think that is a lot of what makes just some difficult towers just easier to play than others. It's just the fact of just how fun they would be, how interesting the jumps are as well. So I definitely can start to see just people's points about just bad or good towers, because that generally is a thing in the obby community now. Well, really, like it has always been, I feel like. Oh yeah, there's especially this tier 5 as well, which I was thinking more of a different tier 5 that was just linked onto just all these other obby games where it was just one tier 3, and then I went up to the tier 4, bit that pretty easily, and then the tier 5 just stumped me. There's also this Wiggle one as well, where it was just impossibly difficult, which it really wasn't impossibly difficult now that I think about it. Poor choice of wording. It was more just extremely difficult, just because of how you had to do all these just all this wiggle gameplay, and you can see why it is tier 5, because, well, there are some very difficult just wiggle bits, and I just find that that's my weakness. I feel just wiggling. That's just a tier 5. I think it is also just everything mixed that would make it just more tricky, but if it is just slightly less. Kind of like Devoid. Just with how each jump just feels a lot different from the last, quite often. Just you've got wraparounds with just weird bits. And even the wraparounds just have different types of wrapping around, and sometimes it could just be something like this where you just have to make sure not to lean on the wall, or this where you have to do a ladder wraparound. Or you can just climb the ladder, but I'm actually starting to get more consistent with the wraparounds, and then you got this piece where if you don't stop moving, you slide off. And then just something simple like a up around. I still don't know what to call those. And I think that is a lot about what makes a obby interesting. There's just different things in there, which, again, I still don't think that that's the case, because some people just like just pure wiggle gameplay, pure jank, or just pure wraparounds. I think it is mostly wraparounds and wiggling. Which, there was actually a really nice story about the game called Wiggle Core, where just Boomsisuk was just like, you know what? No, make this more tricky. Or just he would make it more tricky because it's just fine. I'll do it myself. And I mean, to be fair, the dude was very much into making it more tricky because he just had the dream of making it tricky, and that's when Boomsisuk just took just the keyboard and mouse and made it more tricky in Roblox Studio, at least from what I've heard. I think it was Boomsisuk. Could have been somebody else, but I'm still pretty sure it was Boomsisuk. And then that was just what was happening. I think I always need to angle my character this way. That area just always scares me, and then I just move in random directions. But then again, it just doesn't really do anything. Well, I think I'm just more trying to get out of that area rather than being scared of it, but same thing. Like I said. Oh, yep, that's good. I think. Yes, it's not good. It is not actually a good letter. That works, but... Oh, hopefully I don't fall. I said that as I've already grabbed onto the ladder. And I fall through that. I do think I am getting past just some of the most tricky stuff and just the void, but... Well, I mean, the lattice thing is also very tricky, just with that first jump here just being, or one of the first jumps just being very much a run killer when it comes to this area, or just generally that trust jump as well that I used to fail on. I don't really know where that is right off the top of my head. I think it is just over here. Yeah, I was looking way further down than it really was. And then those are just the most tricky bits. So after I get just some of these other bits just down, then I can just finally move on to prison, or I can just start being able to just, well, first of all, get there, of course. I don't think I should really underplay that, but just being able to just parkour along this area just as a daily thing. Because I just see quite a lot of people just get to here, then get up there, just the same as how I would get to just this area, except it's here. And then that's just the reality of things. Because of how just impossibly tricky it just seems to somebody like me, but... I mean, someone like Waste, he even completed this in just one day, which... It still is crazy to me how he just beats it within just 24 hours of me just showing him the game. Well, not just beating it, he just is able to join me now and just... If he just has just a few hours to just practice it, or even a few minutes, I don't even know how long it takes him to just get everything down, but when he does, he just goes all the way to prison. And that's just what I want to do. I want to be able to just make like Weast and get to the most tricky part of the game, because I have not done that yet. And then that's just the reality of things. So at the very least, I do want to just get to prison, just so Section 3 is just over and done with. Because of just how much this area has just plagued me. But generally, just... I mean, I know I say this every time, Chad, it would be quite repetitive now, but just 226 hours. It's just not something that I just want to spend longer at because of how it's just the prelog. It isn't even the main event. It isn't even what makes Devoid tricky, which there would be just that present where it's just loop fail after loop fail after loop fail. But then if I'm just loop failing after loop failing after loop failing here, then it's just, well, it generally does show how tricky this game actually is. So I think even around here is about tier 15, which is generally just insane. Or even more than insane, because I think even the insane difficulty is just more tricky than that. So I do just want to get out of this place. Just move on to the big area up there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.